Brianna and Steven are about to face nuclear war. One of them is stranded in a nation with no chance of survival. The other happens to be in the one country on our planet that will outlast the apocalypse. Can Steven and Brianna make it there together? Or is this truly the end of the world for them? This is Steven, and he is one of the lucky ones. Because in our scenario of an impending nuclear apocalypse, Steven happens to live in the one place where sitting tight and waiting for it all to blow over is an option. Let's not focus on where Steven is just yet though, because Steven's wife Brianna is in grave danger, far away in New York City. And with warheads in the sky, Steven is terrified. Luckily, Steven and Brianna's son Nick, their devoted, sometimes mischievous 19-year-old student, lives not too far from his dear old dad. And so, for the first time in months, Nick heads home not to do his laundry, but to be with his father in a time of need. Now, there are plenty of potential apocalypses our planet is currently facing, but the one with the highest likelihood of truly dooming our species is a nuclear world war. Conflict between the United States and Russia is no longer a what if, it is real and underway. Steven and Nick watch on the news as bombs devastate the northern hemisphere. World War III begins. Hell rains down on the people in the United States, Canada, and Europe. As Russia and the United States launch warheads targeting each other and each other's allies, the war escalates almost instantly. The United Kingdom, France, Italy, Germany, and the other remaining members of NATO join forces to aid the US. They are faced with Russian backed up by highly formidable allies in China and North Korea. With the war underway, none of the countries just mentioned would make for a safe place to stay. They are all targets, as Brianna is now finding out in New York. She's left fighting to survive amongst a city left under rubble. The immediate side effect of the war that Steven, Nick, and their countrymen experience is not actual military conflict, but the influx of people arriving in our mystery nation seeking safe haven. Steven's home country has vast space, a near unlimited food supply, thanks to it not relying on the import of goods, and the country's distance from the northern hemisphere leaves it a good stretch away from nuclear fallout. It is also a place with little strategic importance where war is concerned. It's too far away to offer an advantage to any of the nations fighting in the war. Nuclear war has turned the internet into a relic of the past. For Steven, even a phone call to Brianna is impossible. All Steven can do is keep going. Steven hires some of the newly immigrated people in his home nation to work on his farm with him. The world is at war, but in Steven's home, the population is on the rise. Farmers like Steven are pushed into increasing food production. While many nations around the world rely on the import and export of goods, Steven's home country has all the resources to keep everything done local and sustain society as the world ends around it. In the United States, society has collapsed. Those like Brianna, who have made it through the initial stages of the conflict, now face the dangers of a lawless land, a nation rife with disease and poverty. Steven, on the other side of the planet, thrives helping the new arrivals, and in turn, helping his country to stay alive, all with the assistance of his loving son. This family in tatters is soon to be torn apart thanks to the war. Steven's home nation has close ties to the United Kingdom. This also means that Steven's country shares close ties to one of the UK's most significant allies, the United States. And so Steven's fellow countrymen can't stay out of the fight. They send hundreds of thousands of soldiers into the war. Steven's status as a man making food for millions means he isn't needed on the front lines. This is not the case for Nick. Brianna's 19-year-old boy is drafted into combat. Many of Steven's hard-working colleagues disappear into camouflaged kits, never to be seen again. As the nuclear war rages on, almost every place on Earth suffers great losses. Islands with no part in the conflict, like Mauritius for example, struggle to stay afloat without assistance from nearby nations. Countries not destroyed by nuclear warheads run out of food as a result of being shut out from trade lines. Citizens starve. Brianna flees New York City and makes it to the outskirts of the state. She is somewhat safer, yet food and water are essentially gold dust across the entire US. Nick is sent to the United States to assist in the war effort. He has a duty, but also a calling to search for his missing mother. A global societal collapse is in effect. Within days, the war ends almost as quickly as it started. There is no clear winner, and the only end result is that over 2 billion people are dead. The nuclear war around the world has caused soot and ash to fill the air, greatly reducing sunlight. Nations like Iceland, that were once seen as safe havens during an apocalypse, are soon to become inhabitable due to the lack of sunlight. This will cause their already chilly temperatures to reach levels well below freezing, and make it almost impossible for people to comfortably survive. Steven's country's climate, along with its food production capabilities, allows Steven to keep on keeping on. Brianna and Nick, on the other hand, face extreme cold and months of darkness in North America. Nick sets off on a valiant search of his mom as the entire world is plunged into a nuclear winter. Millions starve to death as a result. Radiation, as a result of the nuclear war, has contaminated almost everything in sight. Poisoning from the radiation threatens millions with fatal illness. Wait, radiation? Poisoning? Does that mean we are set to see zombies and radioactive animal monster hybrids on top of a nuclear war? Of course not. Well, probably not. But for the record, if that did happen, your best bet would be on a remote island away from civilization, like our earlier mentioned island hideaway, Mauritius. This island in the Indian Ocean would practically make for paradise if the world were to end as the result of a zombie apocalypse. But luckily for Brianna, odds of that seem pretty unlikely. This reality is just as frightening though. Cancers and genetic birth defects will haunt the populations of North America and Europe for a decade to come. Iceland becomes truer to its name than ever before. Countries with usually cold climates turn to desolate wastelands. Animal species are wiped out, left extinct without explanation. The food production of the United States, Russia, and China have all fallen 97% as a direct result of the war. Brianna's chances of survival are slim. Every hour she spends wandering the wasteland, she increases her chances of falling sick due to radiation poisoning. The population dip in Steven's home from civilians losing their lives in the war is replenished by survivors from around the world. Steven's farm is once again a busy, thriving promised land in a post-apocalyptic world. Brianna has not eaten in the days since the war ended. Nick is losing hope of ever finding her. For Brianna, her most likely chance of survival is to head south. The majority of South America has managed to remain out of the conflict of the world-ending World War III. Though with the collapse of the United States, and with the nuclear winter hanging its frosty hat over the world, there is chaos and unrest in every nation below the North American border. Brianna doesn't make it far before she is overcome by exhaustion and malnutrition anyway. South America was an impossible escape. But if Steven isn't in South America, where could he possibly be? Just as Brianna gives up hope, a United Nations rescue team, one led by her son Nick, finds her, broken but not beaten. She's airlifted to safety with her son, and in less than 24 hours, the family are reunited as one. Steven, the farmer who helped feed millions, can only say, "Crikey!" because Brianna finds herself in the one place capable of outlasting the apocalypse. When the world rebuilds, it begins here, in the land down under, Australia. Australia's location, size, economy, wildlife, energy supplies, and its climate all contribute to us being the nation on Earth most likely to survive an apocalypse. Us has everything needed to not only sustain its population following a global collapse, but they have the resources to rebuild society and restart the world as we once knew it. That's a fact that Steven, Brianna, and Nick could not be more thankful for. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed surviving the apocalypse by hiding out down under. If you did, drop us a like. And if you want more end of the world scenarios, subscribe to our channel, then check out this video on the terrifying effects of nuclear war.